Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for being with us today. I'd like to welcome you to another, what we describe as a FranTastic InSights video segment, whereby we introduce you to some very prominent personalities, all of whom are having a very positive impact on the ever-growing world of franchising. My name is David Craghead. I'm the chief, the chief franchise expansion officer for FranServe, and I also serve that same role in the Franchise Dictionary magazine. And today, I will be your host for this week's FranTastic InSights segment. FranServe, for those of you who are not familiar with us, is recognized as the world's largest franchise consulting and expansion organization. Our mission is simple, and that is we change people's lives in a very positive way through franchise ownership. And we do that through a network of incredible franchise brands in 39 different industry categories. Our growth initiatives are supported every day by a growing portfolio of franchise consultants, all of whom are dedicated to helping their clients explore franchise opportunities, which are deemed to be a perfect match to their individual search criteria. And today I'd like to introduce to you Mr. Dennis Schooley. Dennis is the founder of a company called Schooley Mitchell. They are headquartered in Stratford, Ontario. Schooley Mitchell is a cost reduction franchise specializing in reducing business expenses across several key areas for all of their clients. Their service is risk-free and it is completely independent. The only profits they earn come from the savings that they have identified and secured for their clients. So Dennis, thank you for joining us today. And as I pass the microphone to you, sir, if you would please describe and share your business model description and the perspective you have on Schooley Mitchell, please.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me, David. And you did a pretty good job of describing what we do before I even start. So, you made the point that we are a cost reduction consulting company, and that's what we are. It's a professional business, much like an accountant, a lawyer, a financial planner, that kind of we don't deal with tax or law. We deal with the expenses that we specialize in, which is about 8 or 9 or even 10 very shortly, expenses that most companies run into. And what we do is we help those companies reduce those expenses by giving them advice, by understanding the marketplace, by having negotiating clout on their behalf. We don't sell anything, hence the comment you made about independence and objectivity, because all we're doing is consulting to those companies and helping them reduce their costs. But as you said, without a risk, because we don't charge any fees to do the work that we do. We simply share in the savings that we find, which means that our franchisee has an easier time getting a client than a normal professional would, because there's big fees up front in most cases. In our case, it's zero. So that's sort of a nutshell description of what we do. Each of our franchisees does that in their community in the field.
Thank you. Do you have a specific mission statement that you can share with us today?
We do. It's a little bit wordy, but it does describe what we're doing, to be known. And that's an important part of it, to be known, because that means we're looking to grow at all times. We're looking to add new franchises, new employees, new cost categories, and that makes us more known. To be known as the cost reduction experts, optimizing our clients' businesses by delivering independent, objective, and professional consulting experiences. That's what we do, and that's our mission.
And how would you describe the unique features of your brand that may distinguish you from any other concept in the industry that provides a similar service? What's unique about Schooley Mitchell?
Yeah, there's not a lot of similar services out there, but there are a couple of companies that do it. But really, there's no comparison is really my comment to that. If costs are compared, you'll find it's much less expensive with Schooley Mitchell. Our training systems, our support systems, our tools, just really everything. We've got it pretty buttoned up here, David. We've been doing this for 22 years, and we know the market in terms of what clients need. We know the market in terms of what franchisees need, and I think we deliver pretty well. We've worked 20 years to get to the point where we are now, and I believe we're as good as it gets.
And I will say to you, Dennis, when I was a franchise consultant or a broker 9 years ago, the very, very first placement that I made in the industry was with Schooley Mitchell. So that was a very positive way for me to start brokering, making placements in the industry. And I thank you for setting me on the right path so many years ago.
Well, that's good to hear. And, I will say to you, we're doing 6, 8, 10 placements each and every month. So there's certainly an ability to put your placements in play with referrals to Schooley Mitchell.
And are there any, what I would describe as branded distinctions that you would like for the viewing audience to know that maybe they may not realize at the first blush of appearing or searching out Schooley Mitchell?
I'm not quite sure what you mean, branded distinctions. I mean, the biggest distinction is that we don't charge fees. I think, as we said, we have a great system. We've completed something like 26,000 deals over time. And I guess maybe that's a distinction right there, David. Maybe that's what I should talk about here. That's the sort of special sauce that we bring to the table. A client, no matter how big they are, can really only negotiate based on their own experiences, their own expenses. Whereas we have this database of 26,000 deals. We know how low every vendor can go. And if they don't go that low in our negotiation with them on behalf of our client, we call them on it. And if they want to win the deal, they've got to go as low as they were before with a similar client, or, they're not going to get the deal. We also have a database of over 3,200 vendors right across the board in both the United States and Canada, where we've got contacts and relationships higher up in those companies rather than just customer service or rather than just the salesperson that made the deal with that client in the first place. So maybe those are a couple of the real brand power things we bring to the table for you. Is that what you're looking for there?
Exactly. That's exactly what my terminology may not have matched yours, but you answered it perfectly. So thank you for that. Okay. Tell me about how your business model has changed over the years, and please also share any future predictions for how your business model may continue to grow going forward.
Well, I guess the biggest changes are simply improvements on how we've done things from day one. I mean, our vision was pretty clear 22 years ago. And as I said, for 20 years, we built it to the point where it got to a couple of years ago. And now we're pretty really buttoned up. Our what we call the warehouse, our intranet, is worth millions of dollars in value to us and to our franchisees. So, we spent a long time developing that. So that's certainly one of the things. But our continual expansion and looking at new expenses, we're never going to be jacks of all trade, David, where we're going to do 30 expenses, because that's not important to companies. What's important is the most money they spend on things on a day-to-day basis. So we address almost all of those. We're adding, and we have over the last few years, if you're asking about recent changes, we've added several new expense categories. We're adding 2 or 3 more within the next calendar year. So that's really, I guess, the biggest change, in addition to just continual improvement. It's a Kaizen theory here. So
thank you. Okay. Great answers. I appreciate the detail you're giving us this morning.
Oh, I can talk.
You sure can, but your words mean things, so we appreciate that. Tell me how, if at all, did COVID-19 affect your business?
Well, the reality is our business is actually recession proof. And, COVID had effects on business activities as a recession would. We had zero difference in franchise average revenue through the entire COVID period. Now, that doesn't mean we didn't have a few people that crawled under their bed, and used excuses. And of course we did, as it did every business in every industry. But we had others that just grabbed it and went for it and realized what a great opportunity it was. Because what do companies have to do when they're challenged economically? They've got to cut costs. And that's what we do. And we don't charge money to do it. So really, when times are tough, recession, inflation like now, economic downturns, fear in the economy like COVID created, that's actually when Schooley Mitchell's strongest. And actually, when economy's great, it's good too, because companies are using more of what we consult about. So really, we're perfectly elastic to those conditions. And COVID-19, if anything, taught us how to be more efficient in the virtual world. And we were very good within 2 days of shutdown. And we were actually able to teach our clients how to be good at virtual as well. So I'd never want to say COVID was good. It was awful. It's horrible. I hope it is over with, but it certainly wasn't something that affected our people.
Can you tell me about your expansion plans as a territory growth metric? Where are you looking to grow now, and what hot regions of the country, either in Canada or the US, would you like for us to focus on to help you grow your brand?
Yeah, I suppose the bigger state, I mean, anywhere, David, is really where we're looking for good people. And we have roughly 230 franchises right now across both countries and north, south, east, west. But, Illinois, New York, California, those bigger areas that we didn't put a whole lot of emphasis on those in our first, say, 15 to 20 years. But those are areas where we would look to grow significantly in the next few years, but really anywhere.
How are your territories created? How do you design them?
Well, that's another distinction. Maybe I should have said that earlier. We actually don't have territories. Most franchises will give you a geography, a hunk of land. And that's great because it protects you from other franchises eating your lunch, sort of thing. But in our world, I guess one thing I would say about that, if you're going to have territory, it better be a good one, right? It better be a good location, good traffic patterns, good demographic mix of age, sex, race, religion, those things that go into buying decisions. Because if it's not, or too many competitors in your geography, you got a problem. You got nowhere to go. But with Schooley Mitchell, we don't have territories. So instead of protecting a hunk of land, we protect clients and we protect prospects with the registry system. And we've been doing it for 22 years. It works great. So what it says to our franchisee is they can get clients anywhere they want. So if an opportunity leads them to a different town, a different city, a different state, even across the country borders between Canada and the US, that's just fine. So we don't have that restriction. So really our territories are wide open, and yet we provide protection to our franchisees for their clients and their prospects.
How would you describe the ideal candidate for one of your franchise or franchisees?
Yeah, as I said earlier, this is a professional business. So we're looking for business people, management, executives, sales, marketing, consulting, that type of person is who we're looking for because they're comfortable having a conversation with another business person. And that's really all we need. If someone is comfortable talking to that business owner, that controller, that CFO or CEO in a larger company, or like I said, controller, owner in the smaller company, that's the person we want because we can train them with everything they need to say or do or how to handle the objections that come up and how to develop the business. We really just need business people, and that's what we're looking for.
Thank you. I have one final question for you, Dennis. I'll let you off the hook. You've done great so far.
Okay.
So thank you. We bring a client to you tomorrow. They are anxious to get started. How quickly can they be positioned and trained and ramped up to start their business? What's the time frame look like?
Well, a couple of things. I mean, if you're talking about the qualification and due diligence part of it, that can be anywhere from 30 days to, we've had them go a longer term. We'd like them to, 3-4 months would be the max where we want them to get to that decision point. So that turnaround is not long at all, but we can get them through in 30 days if they want to work faster with us. In terms of ramp up for the business, that's an often misunderstood question. People think that if I spend a big amount of money and I get cash flow right away, that I'm ramping up faster. Well, the reality is that's a longer payback period. That's a longer break-even point, whereas it's really just a financing question. So if you can finance the purchase of a business that will create immediate cash flow, you can certainly finance a lower cost business like Schooley Mitchell, as well as the ramp up time for your personal expenses as you build up clientele. So ramp up with us is actually much faster than almost all other businesses, even though you're not going to collect cash month 1, 2, or 3, because you're getting clients. The work has to be done. Then you got to build them and collect them, that kind of thing. So often misunderstood question, David. Ramp up is actually very quick with us in terms of looking at it with the right lens.
Okay.
I hope that made sense.
It does. And thank you for the clarity. Actually, thank you for the clarity on all of my questions. I know some of them were not quite as applicable to Schooley Mitchell as they would be for a pizza franchise or a window replacement franchise. But I thank you for giving us that better definition and description of the business model that Schooley Mitchell has. So Dennis, thank you for the pleasure of your time. I do appreciate it. You've been very thorough and very gracious. And this entire webinar will be posted on the FranServe support site, and it will also be archived in the FranServe library. And it will be uploaded to Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn later, probably this week or the first part of next week. So thank you so much, Dennis. You've been an excellent candidate for us to speak with, and we hope this brings you even additional exposure, and I'm sure it will. So thank you, sir. We'll see you in July in Disney World, I believe. Is that correct?
I will be there.
Okay. Well, thank you, Dennis. Appreciate your time. And with
Thanks,
that,
David.
we will call this webinar, this Insights session, a wrap and adjourn this segment. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye-bye now.